Alrighty. Hey everybody, Steve here, the retired hobby tech guy, and got some good news. Got some stuff over here, if you can see that. YouTube count is 239,397 views on my videos. Now that encompasses kind of a long time, and that's current date that we have there. Date and time here in Korea. But the interesting thing is that I got a little bit of a story to tell you as we do our little latte action. Actually doing a little bit of a salted caramel, which is really good. So you get that sweet and salty type of taste, along with the lighter blend of the beans that we get. So anyway, yeah, started a YouTube channel a long time ago when it was a thing. I don't know how many years ago it was. It was a long time ago. It was after I got out of the military. And what I ended up doing was I realized that all the fun I was having in the military, shooting and blowing up stuff and, just having a great time. When I retired and got out, all my toys were gone. So with that, I had been kind of a prepper for a while. And so I decided, well, let me do some videos on prepping and stuff like that and share what I learned in the military and so on and so forth. So I started getting some views and stuff. Nothing crazy, nothing like what you see today. I was teeny tiny YouTube person, so in the grand scheme of things. But I just did it to give me something to do and to enjoy, and I figured if it ever got big, that would be gravy. With that, I started getting into gun and gear reviews. The channel was called Safe Arms Review. And then I got a spot on a television show. Actually, some producers saw what I was doing on YouTube, contacted me and said, hey, we're doing this show, Armageddon Arsenals. And we were wondering if you and your family would like to be on said show. And so I was like, my daughter was like, oh yeah. And I was like, oh yeah. And my wife was like, no, I don't want to do it. My wife is we are totally opposite. She's a woman, I'm a man. She's beautiful and smart. I'm big, muscular, and I rely on her smarts a lot. And I like shooting. She shoots, but, she doesn't enjoy shooting the way I do. I could go out and spend an entire weekend, 2,000-3,000 rounds of ammunition shooting until my fingers bleed because I just enjoyed it so much. So I did the TV show, got my 15 minutes of fame, if you will, and right after that I started getting more offers to do stuff. Then there was a school shooting that happened, and then suddenly anybody with a gun was bad. And the smaller YouTube channels took the brunt of that, and then all of a sudden guns were bad unless you're a really, really big YouTube gun channel, and then you're making them a ton of money. My videos started getting strikes and stuff like that, so that was kind of videos that I made with a camera and that only included videos of me shooting and doing my stuff. I edited my own videos, and it ended up it was like what's going on here, long story short, YouTube did not like what I was doing, so it got a bunch of my videos and was like, yeah, no, you can't do that, and so on and so forth. So it was like, okay, we're having lots of fun here. It got to the point of where I was getting false flags on my videos, false copyright claims, because YouTube is automated. People make false claims. And then YouTube started striking videos and saying, no, you can't do this. This is against the terms of service. Even though I was like, I'm doing the exact same thing as some of these bigger channels, or the bigger channels are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. Long story short, YouTube demonetized my channel. And at the height of my YouTube career, I guess you could say, I was making about $500 a month, which was good because I was pouring it back into the channel, buying ammunition, doing more videos. I wasn't stopping my work. Didn't give me that type of income, but it was good to get a little bit of money to offset what I was doing. It was keeping me in ammunition and other stuff. So then eventually YouTube was like, no, you gotta get rid of all your videos, and if you don't, we're gonna just delete your channel. And so, having nowhere to turn, I was pretty pissed off. By that time, I had over 800 videos, and they were getting strikes and getting strikes and getting strikes. But it's like, what am I getting strikes for? Well, this isn't appropriate. Big channel over here that has 1 million followers is doing the exact same thing, or vice versa. So mentally, things weren't going well, PTSD, and I wasn't taking care of myself. So, and then with the YouTube thing going on, crap at work happening, it was just like a perfect storm. And then finally, the ultimatum, delete all your videos, which there wasn't 800 left after that. So I ended up deleting them all just to keep the channel. And of course, it was demonetized. So I was like, screw you. That's what we got going on here. So this is a little background into my YouTube career. So pretty much kept the channel clean, no cursing, or, very minimal cursing, and because a lot of it was shooting, a lot of it was hard factual information, practice, training, gun reviews, gear reviews, things like that, so it wasn't like I was doing crazy stuff. But for whatever reason, that got up their nose, and then I let that lie for a while. I got help for a lot of my mental health problems and PTSD and depression, anxiety. Things started getting back together. I got my VA, the VA to take care of the issues that I had been putting off for so long. Because back then, men don't have mental health problems. You just suck it up and, compress it into a ball and push it down in there, and then it emerges as cancer, 50 years later. And you die a horrible death. So I realized that was not the way to do things, and I started getting help. And with that, I started doing other videos. So in my earlier videos, I rebranded the channel into like SAR 1076 and trying to do that prior to, getting rid of everything. And then I did some drone videos because I was like, I need something to do, and I liked being alone. I liked, drones and the footage you could get, so I started doing that. And then some other stuff popped up. What else came up? And then I changed the channel to The Varied Life. Again, much time had passed, and then we ended up, we're going to retire overseas, quit my job and everything, and retire early. And then, so now The Varied Life is the name of the channel. So for the people that are wondering and said, well, you've got about 240,000 views, how come you're not monetized? Well, that's the reason why. And recently, getting over COVID 2.0, recently, matter of fact, it was a day or two ago, I talked about how I was going to reapply for monetization. And it popped up, I did it. I had the AdSense thing, and then it came up and says, oh, you're not eligible, and blah, blah, blah. Well, I had everything, but it said there was problems with views, or not views, but with content or something, whatever it was. And I was just finally, seriously, really, after all this time, after I deleted all my videos, making sure that I didn't have copyrighted information or songs, or, I use free for use, non-copyright songs or music, I was like, seriously. So I hit the reapply for them to review it, and that was last night. And then I woke up this morning, and now my channel is monetized. So, yay! I don't know what the deal is. I'm not expecting to make a lot of money because my channel is not one of those things. So, YouTube monetization. We're going to try it again. YouTube 2.0. We're going to see what happens on The Varied Life. And like I said, we do the stuff on being an expat here in Korea, do 3D printing, resin printing stuff, some painting, which I'm woefully behind on doing a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, I just finished up this print here, which I need to take off. And it's kind of hard to see because it's white. So this is a Warhammer 40K figure. This ended up being, was it 12 hours? So this used to be a little 31, 32 millimeter, and then I scaled it up like 600% or something, whatever it was, 500 or 600%. So we'll be taking all the little whoosie whatsies off of here, and we'll see how that goes. And so we got that. Other than that, yeah, we're just going to drive on with doing that type of stuff. So with that, I'm just going to kind of, go to this next little page here, and then we'll take off some supports, we'll do some talking. If you want to leave some comments, you can do that. So I can see when you leave comments, and they'll be posted up on the screen. If I click on them, so you can ask questions or whatever, and we're just going to kind of do this whole thing and see if we can't get these little supports off of here and talk at the same time. So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting to be able to get YouTube monetized again because of what happened in the past, and it really put a bad taste in my mouth. And especially when you're doing videos that are the same as other YouTube channels, and they're doing great, and yours is not, and getting false claims and stuff like that. I think a lot of that had to do because I spoke my mind in my videos. So it was kind of a weird thing. Williams says, nice. I did know a lot about Warhammer, but I'm printing a Space Marine army right now and learning to paint. Cool. That's exactly what I ended up doing. I remember Warhammer back in, what was it, the late 80s, early 90s. I remember seeing it. But then I had gotten into the military, so I kind of left all of that, childhood stuff. Really, I shouldn't have done that, but that was the way I was raised. You do a job and you leave behind all those things, and then you retire and enjoy life. I should have just enjoyed life earlier or throughout my entire life. It would have been so much better. But I kind of did the same thing, being retired here in Korea, and what it ended up happening is I needed a hobby, and so with that, I did the same thing. I saw the Warhammer figures, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to play, but it'd be interesting to do some painting and give me something to do. And then that's how I got into doing that. And then I saw that the Warhammer stuff is grossly expensive. It was like it was insane the amount of money that it costs to do Warhammer, especially for little tiny sprue models that are pennies on the dollar. I was just amazed that, I ended up buying a little tack here locally, and of course things are a little bit more expensive here in Korea for that type of stuff. So it's already expensive enough. And so I got some figures, and then next thing you know, I'm doing some painting, learning how to paint because I didn't know how to paint. And then I got a bunch of stuff. Got into resin printing because that was so much cheaper than, spending $60, $70 for a pack of like 3 or 4 little 32 millimeter characters. It was like, that is insanely expensive. And then I started doing the Warhammer figures. Let me see if I can find, let's see, what do we got? Cameras. See if my iPhone camera will work. Probably not. No, it doesn't. It's so weird because sometimes the iPhone camera works and sometimes it doesn't. But what I end up having is a bunch of Warhammer stuff. And I guess we could just kind of, so over there is I got a bunch of Warhammer figures and stuff like that over there. And of course I got some some of my Hulk stuff. I've got another big Warhammer dude over there that's going to be painted. We'll get a little bit bigger. Kind of show you what we got going on there. So there's a bigger dude that I printed out and used some paint filler and stuff. So that is going to come out really good. I mean, it's not perfect as far, you can still see some layer lines, but it's a lot better than what it was. But I think this is going to turn out really good. So we've got that. But so the fun stuff. And then says, yeah, Warhammer is way too much money for injection molded plastic. Yeah, they're really proud of their their little models. It's like, really? Seriously? You're gonna that much? Oh no. We have to do some little gluing. Little horn just came off his little sunburst thing on the back. So I'll have to keep that. But yeah, it was so expensive. And when I started, because what I wanted to do was kind of like you. What I wanted to do was to, get some models, make an army, display them, maybe play. I don't know. Haven't found anybody to play here, but it's just way too expensive. And I just, and then the books, and then you buy the books and everything and the materials, and then that's updated every year or two or whatever it is. And of course you have to buy more stuff. And then it's just a money grubbing thing. It just really departed. Now I used to play Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, but yeah, it's just kind of a thing. Says that's awesome. I like throwing Rust-Oleum sandable primer on my large scale prints to get it all smooth. Yeah. That is the way to go. So now I'm just doing a little bit larger stuff, as you can see, and so I'm kind of enjoying that with my 3D printer. So I did resin printing, and I've got that, and then like I said, doing more FDM printing, because I got the Creality K2 Plus, which has been working out really, really nice. I really enjoy that. And then, yeah, just kind of going on from there. So I would like to do like a cosplay armor, at least one big cosplay armor thing. That would be good. And then I want to do a large Hulk, which is about 5 or 6 feet tall. And, just the one and done. Go big or go home, and just kind of do that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I like the 3D printing stuff. I'm getting some upgrades for my K2 Plus, which should be good. I recently got a R3men.com graphite bed that came in. I did a video on that. So that came in. So I'll be doing a video on that. And then, of course, I waited for this to print out. So I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to be doing that. And then I also ordered a micro Swiss hot end. So we'll be looking forward to upgrading the hot end, get more flow, go faster, better. Hopefully that's kind of the goal. And then we'll continue on with the 3D printing stuff. So yeah, some fun stuff. Other than that, just kind of enjoying life. Like I said, retired here in Korea. I ended up getting real tired of being in the United States and kind of frustrated. Kind of knew we wanted to retire overseas, but nothing really clicked for us. We looked at Thailand and a number of other places, but then I also wanted a place where I could do, because I knew I wanted to do some hobby stuff. So I ended up doing that. William says, I printed a Stormtrooper helmet on my K2 Plus already and have the files for the rest of the armor. I just finished life-size Haunted Mansion sign for my fiance. Oh, good. Cool. Yeah. When I make that video, I'll post it, and you can find that on the YouTube page. So I'm streaming this on YouTube and on my Facebook. So, it'll definitely be on there when I do that. I kind of want to do, I guess you could say, like an instructional video for it on how to do it, or at least help guide people on how to do that. So that's going to be a little involved because I want to give out some good information and share how that works. So definitely look forward to that. But the results on that graphite bed is pretty incredible. And since let's take a look and see if we can show this. That's my bed right there. So when I did the fluid, and you can see the stock mesh that I have is like 0.98 or something, an upside down taco. It's within tolerance according to Creality, but still, when I do like a test of the first layer around the edges, it gets a little rough because it kind of goes down like that. So that's why I wanted to get the graphite bed, and it was only like $170. So, I was like, hey, it's not as expensive as I thought it would be. And so I got my allowance and bought that, and then got the Micro Swiss hot end that is going to be arriving one of these days, because everything's got to get shipped to Korea. So that makes for an interesting little thing. So for some stuff, what does my bed mesh look like now? Do I get clean first layers? I haven't installed the graphite bed yet, so I just got that in like a day or two ago, and then this print was 12 hours. So 0.16, so I haven't even put the bed in yet. So I'm waiting to get the Micro Swiss hot end and then get into the production of, recording and installing the bed, taking out the old one, installing the new one, and then doing a bed mesh and seeing the differences. But off of the website, man, I got to show you that. Let's just take some. Let me see if I can find that. Graphite heated bed. Because when I saw this, I was like, wow, this is going to be interesting. So let's see, where is it? Dun, 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 dun. And there it is. And I'm not there. Where am I? Oh no. We do new camera overlay. And I think it's that camera. Yes, there it is. Okay, so anyway, this is from r3men.com. Okay, ramen or R3, whatever. But they do these graphite beds. They're based out of China. It's a guy named Nick. And I actually sent him an email to ask some questions, and real helpful. So, and if you looked at the past videos that I had, you can actually see where I did the unboxing of this. And no warping, lightweight, fast heating. And like I said, it's only $169. Now, the thing is that it says up here, beds are available for pre-order, shipping after 17 June. I was able to get mine just a few days ago, and it's not even 17 June. What is it? What is the date today? Today's the 14th. So it shipped from China, and boom, I was able to get it. So I was pretty excited about that. So you get the bed. It's already got all the cables for 110 or 220. It has the magnetic sheet on there. So it's just, all you got to do is install it. So, and yeah, it's got the magnetic pad, it's got the plate and everything, all the wiring, and you're good to go. Pretty nice, matter of fact. So, and then it got some examples of from people. So, like this person, their bed mesh was 1.06, and afterwards it was 0.189. That is a huge difference. And this is kind of like what mine looks like. You know, this one is 0.9504, and then it's 0.173. That is pretty good. And, you know, they talk about some other ones, show some other ones there. Really impressive as far as the flatness of this. Now, you know, there's going to be people who are going to say, well, do you really need it? Do you still get the prints? I mean, I still get good prints. I have to watch the first layer because sometimes I get problems, and especially on larger stuff that is on the corners, it'll have some problems. But overall, the software and all that stuff that automatically adjusts your Z height works generally well. So with that, you know, it's okay, but I figured go big or go home, right? But this is kind of interesting. So fast heating comes with a 1,000 watt heater versus 800 watts. So you're going to look at heating time is, according to this, is 35 to 40% faster. No need to heat soak, which is what I've had to do. Zero warping because of the graphite. And then the bed temperature is more uniformed over the entire bed than what I've seen on other stuff. So yeah, flatness flatness of each bed is within, what does it say there, 0.1 millimeter. Each graphite plate passes flatness check, which is something, you know, I don't understand why companies don't do this, especially for like the K2 Plus. The K2 Plus and the money that you spend for it in the combo is what I got. And that high price, this should like be an option. You know, they should have some pro options, you know, as getting a graphite bed, having a micro Swiss hot end, and so on and so forth. So hopefully more companies will jump onto that bandwagon. Perfect first layers. You can also magnets because that magnetic bed that is on there that is attached to the graphite. What you can end up doing is sanding that down to get it even better. So there's that. You got some spare parts. Have to do a build plate, a little alignment thing here on the right. And then it has the installation instructions, which is pretty nice. There's only a couple of things that I had questions on, and that's like this right here. For the thermistor type, you're going to have to add that to the code. And what I found out is that comes under fluid. So if you put your K2 Plus or your 3D printer and then do semicolon or colon or whatever it is, and then 4408, it'll bring up on your browser and you'll be able to access the information. So that's kind of some cool stuff, and you can change some of this. Temperature errors. If you see this, it talks about having to replace a SSR, solid state relay. And I just talked with Nick via email, the guy who owns the company, and he was saying, and I talked to some other people that did this, and they didn't have any problems with this. I guess this used to be a problem with the K1s and the K1 Max or whatever, but with the K2 Plus, this hasn't been an issue so far. So, and then talking about doing a PID calibration, so learn how to do that. So again, join the Devil Design Discord and they can help answer questions. But they also have them for the K1 Max, Ender 6 Max, Soval SV08, and graphite bed custom plate size. So, you know, of course that's a lot. Custom plate, $12,900. No way. That can't be the price. I guess it is. I don't know. Contact us for details. Obviously, it's not 13 grand. So, but yeah, really looking into that, especially since my bed mesh is, the upside down taco, we'll be working on that. So that's another video that I'll be doing. And then later this year, I'm also looking, I want to get another, whatchamacallit, because you all know what I'm talking about when I say the whatchamacallit, laser engraver. So I had a rinky-dink, matter of fact, I still have a rinky-dink laser engraver. It was the Wayne Lux K10, and actually Wayne Lux, the company, contacted me and was like, hey, we'll send you a printer if you review it. And I said, well, if I review it, I'm going to say what I want to say, and if it performs well, I'll let people know. If it fails, I'm going to let people know. So in other words, I don't do reviews, to give good reviews. That's not how it works. And it's amazing because I've had a lot of Chinese companies and other companies, most of them are Chinese, contact me, hey, would you review this? Give us a good review and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I do honest reviews. And the majority of the companies, when I tell them that, if something doesn't live up to the advertised claims, I'm going to let people know, and I'm going to show you. Some companies never answered me back, and it's like, well, that's not how we operate, and we're going to pay you money to give a good review, and I'm like, that's not a review, that's an advertisement. You want me to make a good advertisement for you, not a review. And I don't do advertisements, so. But anyway, aside from that, doing the review on the Wayne Lux K10, which was like a little 5-watt rinky-dink cheapo laser, it worked. And if you wanted to dip your toe into it, if you do, I did some stuff on it, kind of like I did some glass stuff, engrave on glass. I've done some coasters. I did a lot of coasters. So that was kind of good. So it does stuff. It was like 100 by 100 millimeter build area or engraving area. So that's all I had. But I would definitely want to get a better and larger one. And so I'm looking at getting possibly the new one that came out from Raleigh Lasermatic, which is a diode and IR laser, galvo laser, all in the same, the same module. And that is pretty amazing. If you've seen some videos on that, check out Raleigh Matics or Raleigh Lasermatics, and their stuff is impressive. It's a little chunk of change, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that is going to be pretty good, I think, because I like the laser engraving stuff. But yeah, it's what I end up doing, and I wish the thin supports on these were a little bit slimmer. But because you got default supports, and then you have tree slim supports, and I've got the, in case anybody's wondering, I set the top Z distance at, 0.265 on this one. So we're getting, they come off really good. The support tops come off easy, but it's just the big stuff that's hard to get off. So, but yeah, I love my K2 Plus, and then like to do more laser engraving. Gotta be careful on the details here. There we go. And then I'll probably do some filler on this, and we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, and then I think that'll be it for the hobby stuff. I think. I'm not into doing T-shirts or the expensive printers. Like there was some kind of print stuff that you could do, but the machine is pretty nice, but the ink is like worth more than gold. I'm not kind of interested in that stuff because it's just I hate buying printer ink for my real printer. And so why would I want to buy a machine to do some hobby stuff that costs even more? So I kind of draw the line there. But yeah, it's a little interesting being here in Korea. I can get a lot of things that I could in the United States, but then there's things that you think would be easy to get that I can't get, like certain glues and things like that. Many times the stuff that you could get on Amazon can't get shipped to Korea. I can get some stuff, but whatever restrictions there are some problems with that at times. But to try to get the same glues for like doing, hobby stuff and stuff like this, for PLA and putting parts together and stuff, you spend, $10, $15. To get the same stuff here in Korea, you're going to pay double or triple. So that's like, ouch, So there's some stuff it's detrimental, but it's just part of, you're overseas and you're living in Korea, and you're just going to have to suck up some of that stuff. So it is what it is. But yeah, we got some fingers. You can see that. So you got to be real careful with the fingers there. Those are delicate. So we're gonna and the top Z distance is set really nice. So I'm not too worried about that. It's just the big trunks on these things. I don't know if you can see that. But you can see how the thumb right there, the supports come off really well, but it's just the trees and everything that, and I should get my other cutters. That's what I should do. That's not going to cut. He's going to cut. These are so... These have been used way too much. I'll try to do a little bit of surgical removal here. So, but yeah, other than that, haven't regretted retiring early. Haven't regretted selling everything and moving overseas. It was hard to get rid of a bunch of stuff, that's for sure. Because you figure, I mean, I'm older, and by the time we decided to start, that we seriously consider that we're gonna sell everything and go to Korea, go overseas, we had amassed a lot of crap, and it was hard to get rid of some stuff. Like I said, I was a big gear and gun guy, prepper. I had like about 3 years worth of food. Ammunition was like, oh God. I had so much ammunition. It was like, if they ever raided my house, it would be like, oh my God, he's the Antichrist. Because it was insane, the amount of ammunition that I had. But I had to get rid of all that stuff. But then it was a little bit freeing in that as well. And then I knew once I got to Korea that I was going to have to, do something. So I knew I was going to do some type of hobby stuff. And I would be buying more crap. So more stuff. That was close. Oh, that came out nice. So... but it was kind of amazing to see how dependent I was on stuff and how I liked the stuff and how that seemed to define me. And so I didn't want to give that stuff away, which was interesting. I didn't realize how much power that had over me. So that was kind of an interesting little thing. But once we started getting rid of stuff, And then it became easier and easier. And by the time we left, because we sold everything: house, cars, trucks, guns, ammo, more guns, more guns. And then, all of the food. I found, being in Colorado, there was a lot of preppers. And so I might have lost some money on the guns, but the ammunition, I ended up actually making money because when I bought ammo was super cheap. And then, of course, I kept it. And then when I sold it, ammo was really expensive. It had gotten more expensive. So whatever little money I lost on the guns, I made it up on the sale of the ammunition and the other stuff. So that ended up, it was a good thing. It worked out well. And then we gave a lot of stuff away to charity. We wrote off a bunch of stuff on taxes. And then after that, we put our house on the market as well. And the market was good. So it was just like the perfect time to do everything. If we stayed another year, maybe we would have made another $75,000. But I was just so sick and tired of working and doing everything. It's like, I don't care. We'll make some good money, enough to buy an apartment here in Korea. And that was it. So, but crime was getting worse. We lived in southern Colorado, in Florence, Colorado, matter of fact, which was close to the Supermax. Let's see how that turned out. Not bad, huh? Not bad. So, yeah, ammo prices skyrocketed. It's insane. I had, to be honest with you, I must have had 40,000 rounds of ammo, 40,000 rounds of ammo, somewhere around there. So yeah, I made some good money, and again, and a lot of guns, but I had more ammo than anything else. And thankfully, I was able to sell that stuff to some other people, some other preppers that were like, "Oh, okay," and I gave them a good deal on the ammo, but I still made money on the ammo. So always got to make sure you make money. But yeah, it all happened right at a good time. Everything came together. But there we go. This came out pretty good for the, I was doing stuff at a layer height of 0.2, but then I changed that when I saw a guy named Gary on the Creality K2 Plus Facebook page, and he does real big models, and he uses 0.16. So I started doing the same layer heights as him and some of the same settings, and it's just been really good. It's been like, oh, okay, this is nice. I like this. So, and especially adjusting the top Z height has been something, and I've done some videos on some tests for that. So definitely, because the stock settings were just numbers were way too low, so it fused the supports that touched the model was really fused together, and it just ended up, it was like, yeah, that's not going to work out. But with the top Z height of 0.265 that I ended up using on this one, I get the supports in there and everything works well, so the distance is good. It's just these large areas that was just, yeah, just got to be careful. But as far as like the support, it just amazes me that you can put a support on here and that top Z distance is actually a space between the support and the model. It's an empty space, but it's just amazing on how that works. Uh, so yeah, just some good stuff. Enjoying it. And I found the best way to work is from the top down as far as getting all these things. Because working from the bottom up definitely doesn't work. But it's been good. Like I said, we retired early overseas. Some people ask me, well, do you miss being in the United States? I miss some people in the United States. Some people I would hang around with, you know, in the gun community and stuff like that. I miss them. I don't miss the crime. I don't miss the stupidity. And generally over here in Korea, people are more respectful than what we experienced in the United States. But it's been good. And then just kind of like what Mr. Williams was saying, you know, I started painting, and I hadn't painted anything for, what was it, like 47 years? And then I decided to get into painting the Warhammer stuff and watch an inordinate amount of YouTube videos. So that was kind of fun. And then started painting the Warhammer stuff and getting some paints and all that. So yeah, it's been good. I've enjoyed the process. So I'm now doing the 3D printer stuff, which has been fun, and learning all the stuff there is with that. Careful, careful. So let's see. It says I have some tabletop-sized Space Marines. I keep breaking off arms and legs. I can glue them back on and paint them. Still look awesome. Yeah, been there, done that. And that's why when I started doing the smaller figures, like, let me show you. So I started doing smaller characters, kind of like this. So this is one of the cool ones that I ended up doing. I thought that turned out really well. And then other small ones that I printed out that, you know, just kind of playing around and taking way too much time to paint these guys than probably what was necessary. But they worked out pretty good. And then I found out that the smaller the characters, the harder it is to paint. And then so I started printing out some larger ones, and they're easier to paint. Imagine that. What are the odds? So that's what got me into doing larger things. And this one I'm really proud of. I really liked how this guy turned out. And yeah, it worked out really well. I still need some work. But again, I take way too much time to do this. And this guy was just, yeah, insanely long. So, and then there's some other ones. So this is another, and all these were like free off of Cults 3D. So there's another one that I ended up doing. So that turned out kind of good. Ended up like that. And again, it was just way too much time. Thanks for the compliments on that. But and then I started doing some bigger characters. So and so, oh yeah, thank you for the compliments. It says I want to make a wash with oil paint mineral spirits for my minis, but yeah, I spent a long time on them. Yeah. Way too much time. But it's fun though. I enjoy it. And then what I found is just watching YouTube videos on how people do stuff, and then basically just kind of copy and see, get the general idea of how that works, and then shading and stuff like that, and then oils and washes and stuff like that. That can hide so much imperfections. And then I kind of like the grim dark look, not the crisp and clean look of like just off the assembly line. I like the stuff where it's more battle worn looking, because then you can hide a lot of mistakes with that, and it looks like it's battle worn. So I think it adds more depth to the characters. That's just my personal opinion. But they can hide a lot of mistakes. So there's that. Let's see. What do I want to do? Let me get that. So yeah, but it's been fun. I've been really enjoying it, and I don't know. Maybe I'll get into the tabletop gaming part of it one of these days. I don't know. It's just kind of an odd little thing. But then again, being retired, everybody else works. So the people that are around here, kind of like, for example, I'm close to a U.S. military base, and so all those people are working, and they have nights off. So I guess I could find a group, I guess, that I'd be able to do that. But it just hasn't tickled my fancy enough. But yeah, the painting, I thought it was going to be super hard to do, but I enjoy that. But then I also like printing a bunch of stuff, and so my pile of shame is it's big. But yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. I definitely need to do more painting, because I'm way behind that. That's what's awesome about painting. It's so much fun and so much you can do to them. That's true. Yeah, and you've seen it as well on social media. The people that are like master painters on miniatures, and just insane on what some of those people can do. It's just like, wow, that is. And then they do it fast. For me to do something like what they do would take forever, at the speed that I work. And I take things slow. And then the other problem is I'll end up, I start on one thing and I get excited about it, and then I'll do it for a little while, and then I'll see something else. It'll be like, oh, squirrel. And then I'll go over here and mess with, different stuff. And then, there's other parts of my life, like I go to the gym. So I'll get deep into that. And then, other stuff falls behind. And then I get back into printing, and then back into painting a little bit. As a matter of fact, I picked up the pace on painting. And instead of doing one figure at a time, I'm trying to do more. And I ended up, matter of fact, doing some of these guys. Of course, you can't see that, so we'll got to go back to this window. So looking at like this guy here, we're doing this. He looks a little orange. It's orangish, but it's even more orange on the video for some reason. It's more brilliant. But I've got 3 of those guys that I'm doing, 3 different guys. So that's kind of fun and interesting to do. But yeah, I enjoy doing it. It is fun, that's for sure. So yeah. But other than that, enjoying the process, enjoying the fun. Of course, being retired is nice because you've got time. But then again, I'm pretty busy. The question is, do I use an airbrush? Yes, I do. I recently had started doing airbrushing for just like the base and, priming models and stuff like that. But then the first model that I ended up doing the majority of, airbrushing was my Hulk. And the Hulk I'm pretty proud of. And I gotta show, that's what this guy is here. But the Hulk, and let me show you the Hulk. Dun, 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 dun. So here is the Hulk. So the Hulk turned out pretty good. And this was the base I painted with a brush, but the Hulk himself, what I ended up doing was airbrushing and using different colors and then threw a wash on there. So he turned out pretty good. Tried to get highlights and stuff with different shades of green and stuff like that, and it turned out pretty good. Of course, I painted his head with a brush, but this one was the majority of it. I used an airbrush on this, so yeah. And it turned out pretty good. I like it. And this is the one that I want to make that's 5 or 6 feet tall into an FDM print. Do the, go big or go home. So, but you can see it's got darker on the bottom, and then you can see how it's lighter. So I tried to take advantage of the shadows. And I've got a video where I painted this, and basically I just copied other people and how they painted their stuff, and I think it was ground affected or ground affected, whatever. That was the guy for that. So I just kind of mimicked what he ended up doing, and that turned out pretty good. A lot of detail work. How long did that take? Not too bad, actually. If I had actually had sat down and just went from one thing to the next, it probably wouldn't have taken as long as it did. But I think in the video, I can't remember if I kind of went over how many hours that I put into that thing. But with the airbrush, it definitely was a lot shorter than doing, the brush work, because you can cover more, wider areas and stuff like that. And of course, getting better with airbrushing, the faster it's going to be. But I can't remember honestly. Because again, it was one of those things where it was like, we're going to paint for a while, and then you got to let it dry, wait 20, 30 minutes. Sometimes I'd wait and continue painting. Other times I would go do other stuff. So, yeah, it was like, I don't know. So, but it was good. That was the Hulk is my favorite. That's for sure. The Hulk is my favorite. So that's why I want to do a life-size Hulk, at least 5 or 6 feet tall. So we'll see how that turns out. And that should be interesting as well. Ouch. But yeah, it's just one thing, and then just keep trying and going at it, and we'll just see how that stuff goes. But yeah. If I actually sat down and actually got into it, I could probably, with dry times, if I had like a blow dryer, paint something, dry it for 5 minutes, and then drive on, that would really decrease the time it took to do that. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you can check out the video on my channel. I've got where I painted the Hulk and the colors that I used and all that stuff. And so that was pretty good. You can check that out. But other than that, yeah, that's what we got going on. Fun stuff. And then the Warhammer stuff is pretty good. I like the Warhammer stuff. And I would like to do a big Warhammer figure for like cosplay or something. I think that would be kind of cool. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe one of the days I'll do that. That's on the bucket list, is doing a big cosplay thing. Because here, since I live close to a U.S. military base, it ends up on Halloween. They have like costume parties and stuff off post right outside the gate, and people dress up and do stuff. And I think that would be kind of fun to do. So, reclaiming my childhood at 59. Come on. So, yeah, fun stuff. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yeah, that's going to be delicate. Then I'm going to have to do some surgical stuff on that part down there. But yeah, for the airbrushing, I actually got an El Cheapo airbrush off of Amazon. And so, and I think it was like $30, $40, the cheapest one that you could get off of Amazon because I was cheap. But what I found is that the tiny compressor that they included with it didn't have a tank. It was super cheap. It would pulse, and so it would cause problems with the airbrushing. Some people have had some good results, but the one I got didn't do well. And so I ended up just getting a Chinese air compressor, a little small tank unit with a tank was about that big, and then got that. It just made a world of difference. And then I ended up getting a Harder and Steenbeck Ultra 2024 airbrush, and then that made a big difference. That there's a huge difference. So buying quality equipment does make a difference. I mean, it won't make you an expert painter, but it can make the difference in how you paint. And like with the cheap Amazon one, I could paint for maybe a couple minutes and it would start getting clogged. 2, 3, 5 minutes. But with the Harder and Steenbeck Ultra 2024, the cool thing about that was I could paint longer and longer without getting clogs or minimal clogs. So that comes into play. So that there makes a big difference. So, but that Harder and Steenbeck, it was a little expensive. It was like $100 or whatever it ended up being. But I think it was well worth the price because buy once, cry once. You know what I mean? So, and then, I deserve to have good quality stuff, And for a lot of my life, I would go cheap. I would go, as cheap as I could. I'd buy used stuff, refurbished stuff. And then eventually it was like, I found out that just wasn't the way to go. So, Aaron says, I bought a cheap airbrush too, and a week later ordered a proper compressor and Badger Sotar 2020 off Amazon. Oh, so you know what I'm talking about. You know that's like night and day. You can tell the difference, I bet. So, you know what I'm talking about. So, there's a big difference when you get decent equipment versus the cheapest stuff. And even an air compressor, like you said, just a not a high-end compressor, just a good compressor, Chinese compressor, and then no name, whatever it is. Boom, that makes a huge difference, especially with the tank, because as soon as I did that, I noticed that I wasn't getting that pulsing from the cheapo Amazon one that I had gotten, and yeah, that was good. This is going to be difficult. Just doing the staff so the staff doesn't break. This is going to be interesting. Ooh, that's close. Says, oh yeah, I love the Sotar, and it's so precise and doesn't clog up right away. Yeah, it's just cool to be able to get the precision and then learn how to use it, and it just ends up it's great. Yeah, definitely great. And this is gonna be. Says I bought the cheapest compressor with a tank and PSI gauge. It had a moisture trap too in that size. Yeah, that's what I got too. I don't think it was the cheapest one, but it was a kind of an average unit. But the same thing, I wasn't going to pay a ton of money for a brand name one when they're all basically from China. And yeah, it ended up that it worked out really well. I was really, really happy with that. So, got my little compressor, and we're good to go on that. It does make a huge difference. Then I got caught doing other stuff. And so I'll do painting for a little bit, and then I'll do resin printing, and then, I go back to painting. The interesting thing is with the FDM printing, I haven't done a lot of resin printing lately. Because I'm doing bigger stuff, and the bigger stuff is easier to paint. So, ooh, that's gonna be, that is like right on the cusp. Yeah, so right where it's just above, whereas his hand is at, that's the weak point. So I need to be careful with that. Because you get a little bit of you can see that. Yeah, I gotta be real careful on that piece. See how that goes. Maybe I should leave that towards the end. I should do this other stuff first. Because if I leave that and it's really delicate, I don't want to be moving this thing around while getting the other stuff off and then have that break off. So, had some couple items. Didn't come out so well, but it is what it is. But yeah, the moisture trap, going back to the airbrushing thing that you were talking about, the moisture trap is good. That's definitely something that, seriously, definitely good. And here in Korea, because it gets pretty humid, so I definitely needed that. And need to find some cutters that have a longer cutting longer cutting edge on here, which would be good. Yeah, I got some cutters here like this. Of course, those are totally A'd up, and then just some needle nose. So yeah, these little cutters have been great, and these are the worst ones I have. I got some newer ones that came, but yeah, they definitely help a lot. And if I found like some of these, but had like almost like double the length, that would be awesome. So I'm going to keep an eye out for something like that, because then you can do some surgical removal, cut stuff out, and then minimize the damage that you do to your model. But maybe, I think we'll get to, maybe in 3D printing, maybe they'll get to a place of where we'll get the best of both worlds of FDM and resin printing. And we'll make support removal. Well, there is that, what is that, SLS printing, where it's kind of like in like a sand, and so you don't even need supports. But that's kind of way expensive. That's way outside of my wheelhouse and budget. But piece in there. The trigger guard is so small. Seriously. I just snapped off the trigger. There is no more trigger. Oh no. It was mashed on there pretty good. Oh well, we can fix that. That's not a problem. Little tiny stuff. And then by the time you... Come on. There we go. But then by the time you end up doing your stuff, and there won't be a lot of sanding on this, but just do some, like you said, that Rust-Oleum stuff. And says, yeah, I have a family member that does resin SLS prints for his company, and they made molds that are pretty cool. Wow, that would be cool to see. Probably a little bit expensive. But yeah, just kind of amazing on what they can do with 3D printing these days. So, amazing stuff. But, some of this is like, do I want to do some of this as a side gig? There's that comes into play. I can't work in Korea because of my visa. For a Korean employer, I can't do that. But I might be able to sell stuff to American service members and stuff like that, because I'm retired military. But I have to look at the legalities of that, unless my visa changes, which is a different visa. So, I don't know. We'll see. But being it's just a hobby, it's a hobby. So see how it goes. Man, these supports that are way in the crevasse. Seriously. And if they weren't there, it wouldn't have printed out, so. This is kind of a good thing. Have like a little pick. This is actually a coffee pick or latte pick or whatever to help do latte art. But what I found is that it's sturdy enough that I can get into places to help snap off some supports. And just kind of get some of this stuff. And then that'll get it to a place of where I can get stuff out like that. So, yeah, just little cool little tools. And I had an extra one of these, and I just had this. I like had my latte, and I just brought it in here for some strange reason. It just ended up sitting on my desk, and then I ended up. It's been a great little tool. So, who knew? Go figure. Some cool stuff. This is going to be interesting. And then the other thing, I'm kind of excited, is there was a Kickstarter for an ultrasonic blade. So I'm really looking forward to that. The ultrasonic blade and be able to cut through stuff like this. You get a longer blade, and because of the oscillation and the frequency of the blade and stuff like that, it can make some short work of stuff like this. And I'm looking forward to getting that. Seriously, come on, there we go. Hey, turned out pretty good. Oh, that's all. I grabbed a woodworker's set of picks and metal files on Amazon I use all the time, but they really need to use the metal sharp pliers. Yeah, the sharp pliers are really good. The cutters, side cutters, for like modeling and sprues, those work out really, really good. So, and the PLA is not, it's not so hard that it's going to damage them or mess them up. But then again, you know, they don't cost that much anyway, so. It's a good little tool. I like it. Man. So much material here. And I like the tree slim supports, but good Lord, it gets down to the base and they all just connect to each other and it just makes it a hassle. So I'm looking forward to any advancements they do on automatic supports. So that'll be interesting. Come on. Because once they get down here, they all just kind of fuse into each other, and it just makes taking that stuff apart such a pain in the butt. So that's where the little side cutters definitely help. So I guess I'm going to leave that one. So you just kind of go for some of the smaller stuff. On the feet. Gotcha. One of the other things I found out on some of the models that I've gotten off of Cult's 3D page, the free Warhammer type stuff. I think that's where I got this guy here. I can't remember the name of the file. Ouch. Damn it. That they were sitting on bases. And so what I ended up doing, as this was sitting on a, like a miniature base, this was all one piece, that what I ended up doing is getting the slicer and just took it down to where it just cut off the base, and then I'm left with this. So that's been kind of a useful little feature as far as cutting things up and making it easier, because I don't want these to be on a base, at least not this guy. I want to make my own base. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Nice. Nice. Good stuff. And I'm in my bare feet. So stepping on this stuff is like stepping on Legos. So we will continue on. Yeah, I'll definitely have to take a look at those woodworker set of picks and metal files. That's a good idea too. I think that would be good. So I'll definitely look into that. That I can order from Amazon and get it here. It just takes about 2 weeks, usually. Sometimes a week, depending on where it comes from. But if it's coming from the United States, usually it's about 2 weeks. So, week, 2 weeks. Which isn't too bad. I got to develop a little bit of patience. But then there's some stuff I can order here in Korea that it'll get here within a day or two. So there's some materials, but it's just a little bit more expensive here in Korea than it is in the United States, because everything's got to get shipped here. So. But it's not too bad. Man, this is going to be a pain in the butt. But yeah, that ultrasonic blade, I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be a great little thing, because then you can use that to cut these out, and it just makes it so, it would make it so much easier to take all this stuff off and separating the trunks and everything. So hopefully the Kickstarter thing that I did for that will be a good one. I think it was like $70 or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it's just kind of cool in how and what you can do with 3D printing. Just pretty amazing. And I've had my K2 Plus. I got the combo, and I just went over 500 hours with it, so we've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it. My wife likes some of the stuff too that I print, so that's kind of cool. But she gets into, she's trying to learn piano, so she's doing that, and then she does a little painting stuff as well. So let me see if I can find, show you. Oh, there we are. So there's me and the wife. There she is. She's awesome. So we go to the gym and do our gym stuff, but yeah, she's incredible. Like, boom, there she is. Look at that. My awesome better half. But yeah, she does some painting stuff, watercolor stuff, just on her own, and so she's enjoying that. Like I said, she's the opposite of me. I don't mind being in front of a camera. She, not so much. We're truly the opposites attract type of couple. So, good Lord. This is going to be hairy. But, yeah, it's pretty good. And our apartment's big enough. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And so we've got enough space. We're not like on top of each other, you know, and in each other's way all the time and stuff. We have our own space. So, you know, that's important. The other thing I'd like to see with 3D printing and slicers in particular is planar cuts. When you do a planar cut, you cut across the entire plane, and so like if you're cutting up this guy here and you wanted to do a planar cut right here, you'd cut straight across, or you know, you can tilt and angle it, but you'd cut away so much stuff. But you have stuff like Mesh Mixer where you can get more precise cuts. Like if I just wanted to cut around the leg, I could do that, and that is good. But being able to reduce the size of that plane when you do planar cuts, I think of whatever slicing company does that and takes, you know, a hint from Mesh Mixer and to make it user-friendly and put it into a slicer program, that's going to make a huge difference. And I'm not sure why nobody hasn't done that yet. I don't know, maybe they just want to do the minimal amount of stuff. I don't know. That would be huge, huge. So whoever does that, I think that would catapult them a long way into having a real good slicer program. Jeez, this is gonna be messy, to say the least. So we'll see how it goes. Seriously. Let's see, what else do we got? I guess I could close that. And what else do we got? Still got the music going? I guess we don't, do we? Let's put a little bit of background music on there so it's not so boring. But I can barely hear it. Hopefully that's not too loud. Yep, supports everywhere. That would be nice to have that ultrasonic cutter, that's for sure. Would be so nice. There we go, finally. We're getting there. Yeah, if I had that ultrasonic, just be able to cut right in there, that would be awesome. So until I get that, I gotta see if I can. Do a little cut and roll. Good. And I also got some stuff getting into 3D printing. I got into Tinkercad and I started making some stuff. I am no CAD person, but I can make some Barney Basic stuff, and so that's been kind of fun as well. But if you go to, I guess I could bring it up. If you go to Creality Print, and I'll show you what we're talking about, because we want to take a look at this. And there it is. I guess I could do my check-in. But if you look at the buried life on Creality Print, then what you can end up seeing is some of the models that I ended up making. So I've got like a hex shelf that will go together. I made a little caddy for my Stanley dual melt pro gun. Did some spool holder stuff, did a bed holder, paintbrush holders, which turned out really good. I really like those. And then I made a couple of different airbrush stands. So like this one here, that stands on its own. And then this one uses 3M tape. But yeah, that took me forever to make. But the paintbrush holders ended up working really well. And all of these are free. So, and that turned out pretty good too. So I was pretty happy with that. I guess I could show that off too. Ouch. Yes. And so this was what I ended up making. And so it's kind of a cool little thing, and it's got some notches. And I was able to, so there's like a notch that goes in between here, and then I just glued these together. But now you've got little shelves that you could put on your desk. You can put miniatures or other stuff. But I just thought it was kind of a cool little thing. I imagine you could make a holder and you could hang this on the wall and just have that. But I just kind of made it as a desk organizer thing, so that kind of turned out cool. And then other things that I ended up making was like this here, paint holder. So we got that. That took a while. And then that'll hold the paint, 17 millimeter paint bottles at a little bit of an angle. And that works out kind of cool. So, oh, and then the paintbrush holder. Small, but yeah, ended up being able to hold a ton of paintbrushes. So that worked out really well. So yeah, check out The Varied Life on Creality Print, Creality Cloud anyway, and then you could find that and all that stuff you can download for free. So stuff that I made on Tinkercad, which is kind of fun. I enjoyed that. So maybe I'll do more stuff. We'll see. It's just like trying to learn how to do Barney basic stuff on Tinkercad, and then then there's always, oh well, I want to do more, and then you look at like Mesh Mixer, try to figure out how to cut prints using Mesh Mixer, and then Blender, stuff like that, Fusion 360. Man, that's got a little bit of a learning curve, so I don't know if I'll be doing that. It's kind of like there's a lot of stuff that I want to do, but am I actually going to do it? I don't know. We'll see. But right now, a longer set of needle sprue cutters would be nice. Okay, get that. And since I'm retired in Korea, people ask me, do I like kimchi? And yes, I do like kimchi. Some people don't like kimchi. I do. But there's like 300 different types of kimchi, so there's something for everybody. But people have asked me, what type of food do you eat at home? It's like, well, I eat American food, I eat Korean food, we do some Thai stuff. My wife likes Thai food. She likes pho, the Vietnamese pho noodles and stuff like that. So, seriously. I think we're getting somewhere here. Pieces are coming off slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. Got top Z distance. I've got a video on that, on doing test prints and finding out what is a good top Z distance for you and your printer, which was courtesy of Uncle Jesse. And you can get those models off of, free models off of Printables. So look up Uncle Jesse, and then I ended up doing the test prints on that, and yeah, that makes a huge difference. Getting that right top Z distance of getting the supports off. Because if they're too fused onto your model, yeah, it just makes it hell trying to get those things off. And when I adjusted that and got the right setting, it was like, oh, okay, now this is so much easier. I like it. Coming out pretty good. You can see that. Not bad. Not bad at all. So about the only thing we got left is the hand. And then his staff portion. So I think what we'll try to do. Okay, there we go. That turned out good. So we got a couple little. Ooh, oh, I think it broke. Damn it. Barely hanging on. So right at that junction, right there is where that's. Yeah, it's cracked. But you know what we can do? We've got some green stuff world, some resin, and we've got our little UV light. So this is, I use this just for like resin stuff, but I found out it works out well with 3D printing stuff as well. And then what we'll end up doing is just do our little UV light in there. And this works pretty well. I knew this was going to be a sticking point. This would be a problem area because there's just not a lot of mass on this staff where it connects up to the hand. You can see it's already pretty good. And I think I'll just put another little drip on there. It doesn't need to dry, but it's just kind of poking it in there. And that does wonders. It really helps a lot. Especially with smaller models, staffs, swords, things like that, small little parts. Because I found that this has it does really well. I mean, you could put super glue on there. That would work as well. But for quick and fast, boom, there it is. So now we're good to go. So yeah, if you're ever wondering, Range Stuff World UV resin stuff right here. That works really well. And then I ended up just getting this little, just looked for a UV light, pen light. I think I got this off of Amazon. And Wubin is the name. So it works off I think AAA's or something like that. But yeah, it works out pretty good. Makes that nice and steady, sturdy. And we're good to go. So now the only thing we got left is his little fingers here. So we'll have to do some surgical cutting. And kind of like that game Operation. And before, like I said, that top Z distance makes a huge difference, because we can end up saying here, let's see if we get you. Just comes off so nicely. So we kept all his fingers. Look at that. Look at that. Nice. Not bad. I mean, a little bit of little rough edges on the bottom, but for where this is going to be and how it's going to stand, I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. Just put on some like you said, some Rust-Oleum. I can't remember the name of the brand I use, but it'll smooth this out, fill in some layer lines, but you can't really see a lot of layer lines on this. You know, if we take a look at this, it comes out, look at that. That 0.16 layer line comes out really, really nice. You can see the details on there. That is really good. It's going to come out nice. And he almost stands. So pretty close to standing. So close. Have to sand the bottoms a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's going to turn out pretty good. And it'll be so much easier to print too. So, yeah. Good stuff. I like it. 12 hours of printing. So basically with the K2 Plus, it ends up, I'll start the print, and then what I end up doing is making sure that the first layer prints off good, and usually good to go. Very few times I've actually had prints not adhere to the build plate, and I think a part of the reason for some of that is because I didn't clean it in a couple of instances. You know, run a couple of prints, it's like, I don't have to clean it every time. There's a few prints that I've had fail, but usually I catch it early on. I don't think I've had a real big print fail on me yet. So keep the fingers crossed on that. And I'm out of coffee. Oh no. But that's what we got going on. Yeah, it's going to be cool, fun stuff that we're going to take a look at, especially with doing the monetization of the YouTube channel, which is kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that. I thought there would be a lot more problems. So the interesting thing will be what am I going to get paid on YouTube? Like I said, I don't get a lot of views on my videos and stuff like this. This is just kind of a hobby stuff. So if you like and subscribe, that would definitely help out with the channel. And then I guess kind of like the other thing, any money that comes in, which will probably be minuscule, will go back into the channel. Like I said, being able to buy like the Micro Swiss hot end for the K2 Plus, and other things. I use my own money for that. But if you're interested, you can buy me a coffee, and those funds will go back into the channel for those things to kind of offset that. And then I also do stuff for being retired overseas, American expat, how we retired here in Korea, the visas and things like that. So, yeah. If you absolutely need to get in touch with me, there's the email address. I answer every single email. I'm pretty proud about that. Comments on videos, because I got so many views from all of my videos in the past, but now I'm starting to get more and more videos. It's hard to keep track. But if you want to contact me just to say hi, or, hey, I saw this cool playlist, or I saw this video, here's some information to make me a better printer, painter, modeler, expat guy, shoot me an email, and I'll definitely appreciate that. Yeah, you can buy me coffee too. So the scrolling ticker is a bunch of people who bought me coffee. So if you want to do that, there's that. I buy people coffee, and it's kind of cool. But if you don't, at least like and subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out the most. But with that, if you got any suggestions, things like that, we'll try to do more stuff on painting. So I think we're going to actually dive into the Hulk and paint the bigger Hulk that we got there in the background. He's primed up. That turned out pretty good. With the primer and the paint. Let's see, let's go back to boom there. And Hulk turned out pretty good. And this is like three coats of that primer filler. And I think this is going to turn out really good. You can still see a little bit of the line there of where it was cut. So I might do a little bit more filler in there and then have to paint it, because that line is really kind of, it bugs me. But if it's going to be standing like this, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But as far as the rest of it, it turned out really, really good. So I'm really looking forward to doing the Hulk and painting him up like I did the other one, except bigger. And this is the one that I want to print out to be 5 or 6 feet tall. But that's going to be huge. Just for the base alone, I took it into Luban. I haven't paid for Luban, but it'll just, you can cut models up based on your bed size. And I think it was going to be like 2 months of printing. Because this base is huge. If you take a look at that base, that's huge in itself right there. But imagine this thing being, my size. That would be insane. So that'll be the one big print. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, a lot of stuff that any money that goes back into the channel will go into funding some of the stuff that I end up doing, and I really appreciate that. So anyway, hey, thanks Aaron, Mr. Williams, for coming along, and other people that are watching for the thumbs up and all that. I really appreciate having somebody to talk with and chat, kind of go over some stuff. And yeah, I'm definitely going to check out those, what you were talking about, the woodworkers tools with the picks and all of that stuff. I'm definitely going to check into that. So thanks for putting that on there. Something else to buy. So with that being said, it's 9:30 here in Korea, and I'm getting hungry. So being that it's Saturday, 14 June, I think it's like Friday in the United States. We're a day ahead of you all. So yeah, weekend's coming. It's going to be awesome. Have fun, and hopefully we'll see you on the next video, all right? Peace. Good stuff. Thanks.